Hi, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is October 21st. Thank you for joining me, finding me, taking the time to spend a few moments with me. I appreciate all of it. So if you are Canadian, make sure you vote today, because that's important. Thoughts and prayers, please, to the people of Dallas who were struck with a tornado last night. Looks like there's a fair bit of destruction. So let's keep the city of Dallas in our thoughts today, please. All right, so kind of interesting. I mean, over the weekend we know that Trump backed away from the whole G7 at Doral. That does not for one second don't for one second think, though, that doesn't mean he's not going to try to figure out a way to get Putin to come to that thing. But for right now, anyways, it's not at Doral. So that's sort of good news. It means at least somewhere, somehow, somebody managed to rein him in, if only by a little bit. Mulvaney looks like more of a fool now than he did before the weekend. So again, not a bad thing. Lots of testimony going on this weekend in the impeachment inquiry. So that should be interesting, even though we only get little snippets. Okay, so I've gotten a couple of requests, and I think it's actually probably not a bad time to take a look at Melania and see how she is doing in this situation and what is going on with her and even possibly with them. So, come on down, let's see what I can find out. I have a question. All right. So we're going to look at, hold on, I just don't like the way that's sitting. Okay, we're going to take a look at Melania Trump, Melania Trump, Melania Trump. Okay. So one of the first things when we're looking at Melania that I think on some level we have to acknowledge is that she was raised in an environment where women, I don't want to use the word subservient because that's not exactly what I'm trying to say, but it's more like women were comfortable or at least understood that their role was to support the man, support, first the father, then, the husband. So there is this dynamic within her that fights against another aspect. So part of her wants to be independent and do her own thing and move forward. But the other part of her, again, it's an environment where men were simply viewed as stronger. I shudder to say superior, but I think that applies. And women were expected to be supportive of that. They were expected to be attractive for their men. They were expected to care and nurture their men. Basically, treat them like kings. And so part of that is what creates this almost like abused persona that she sometimes exhibits with the, face that doesn't move and the faraway looks, as opposed to focusing on what's around her, on learning to not react when she is out in public and Trump says something unbelievably stupid. She has mastered that, kind of mannequin face. There is also a sense that, she sort of doesn't expect to be taken seriously. And so in some ways, her feelings really aren't all that hurt that, that she's not. I'm literally hearing the words from that Tammy. Oh, good. I was going to say Tammy Wynette, and now I'm wondering. Anyways, don't correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody old enough will know the song. Stand By Your Man. I think that was Tammy Wynette. And that's literally what she's doing. That's how she's been trained. It's part of the makeup of where she was raised and how she was raised. In some ways, it was almost as if to be that arm candy or that ornament in public and a personal slave in private. And that is exactly what she intends to do. She is going to stand by him as long as she either A, needs to or has to. And that's the bottom line. And I did not say want to, because want is not part of the dynamic that goes on here. She very much treats him as king and emperor of her life. So she does not like being judged. In some ways, she is an incredibly private person, and she doesn't like feeling that she has to justify or explain Trump's behavior, because honestly, she knows that she can't. And so she has retreated, right? I understand that she does not spend hardly any time at all in the White House. She lives with Barron. I believe it's with her parents. Somewhere in Washington, I think, or in that area, but she is not like in the White House on a day-to-day basis. She certainly is not there most evenings. And when she is there in those circumstances, it is because there are certain things that are being demanded of her. Either there are state visits, or there's some sort of a walk across the lawn to the helicopter moment. But by and large, she really has gone into retreat. Okay, so one of the things that has basically been stolen from her, with that husband of hers going out in public and talking and communicating and saying incredibly unwise things, is that she, again, has lost that sense of privacy. She has lost the ability to retreat. And so it's putting her in a very sort of untenable and really a position where she feels incredibly fragile and insecure. Yeah. As things stand now, she recognizes that no matter how imprisoned she feels, no matter how much it is uncomfortable, no matter how much she may literally be emotionally injured, her role is to literally stand as a helpmate to him, as a balance to him, and in public to do nothing that would dishonor him as he sees it. Not as the rest of the world sees it, just as he sees it. He very much is that dominant male figure, literally from the 1950s, where, women deferred, men made all the decisions. And like June Cleaver, they were forever serving dinner in an apron and high heels. That's the fantasy he has, and that's the fantasy world in which she has adapted and lived in. When he was not president, when he was just a public figure, it was slightly more tolerable, although the marriage long ago, and in fact, I'm not even going to say it was a love match, because it was not. It was more of a business arrangement. It was more of, I will give you this and you will give me that. Talk about the ultimate quid pro quo, because that's sort of what it was. There was an offer made to her. She wasn't thrilled. She looked over her prospects and you know, made the best choice that she could make at the time for herself. Bottom line, that is what created the contours and the foundation of the relationship between Trump and Melania. Yeah. She needed the security that his money could bring. And again, that was her motivation. That was her goal. That was what she was trying to achieve. She needed to get to America. She needed to make herself, you know, somehow noteworthy. I guess that's that modeling career that I guess some people think she had. But her goal, make no mistake, was to get herself into a marriage where she would have financial protection and some sense of security. All right, now, so that has given us a little bit of a broad and actually kind of detailed analysis of how we got to this place. And again, more importantly, how she views things, right? How she relates to things, understands things. This is her frame of reference, okay? She just knows that this is what is expected of her. This is what she expected of her own life. You know, not everybody on the planet has the luxury of being raised in countries where women have, you know, that sort of freedom. And so for her, looking at the women of the United States, and by and large how they are perceived, looking at women from Commonwealth countries, again, and how they are perceived, of course there was that sense that she really wanted that for herself. And so that was her goal. That was her motivation. All right. I want to take a look at how she's doing now and what is going on now. So I think we're going to take a look at Melania and Donald together because, of course, those are the dynamic that, frankly, we're most interested in. So one more quick shuffle. We're looking at Donald and Melania. I want to focus in on them. So Donald, Melania, Trump, Donald, Melania, Trump, Donald, Melania, Trump. Okay. Everything in her world right now it hinges on how stable Donald can be kept, how successful or not successful he is, how his ego is feeling stroked or not. It's a good thing that she is at a distance because around him, the energy is so toxic, so angry, so push forward no matter what the cost, that, and he rules her with an iron fist. She doesn't have the kind of freedom and leeway that we just assume as sort of independent women that she would have. We're making the wrong assumption. It's not correct. She really doesn't have the kind of freedom that we would just assume that she has. I know that in the last time I did a reading on her, there was a, and there he comes again. The last time I did a reading on her, I made a statement about the fact that, I didn't believe that she had a lot of assets. She's not one that appears to have sort of honestly, like even, a jewelry that you see her wearing. And some people just don't like jewelry. Some people don't wear a lot of it. But you just get the feeling energetically that she doesn't have a lot of assets. And I got flooded with information, people saying, well, she won this lawsuit and she did this and she had this company and how could she not have money? Well, the answer is because he didn't let her keep it. Okay, it's really simple. Things were set up in such a way so that she deferred to him controlling her finances. She deferred to him taking care of the little woman's money. So I'm not saying she's destitute, but I'm saying she is not quite what she projects, okay? I mean, all of those clothes, they are given to her by and large, okay? Because certain designers want to be seen, as clothing that the first lady of a country would wear. So there's just a lot of stuff. A lot of the glitz and the glamour is not actual material possessions as much as it is things that are given to her, loaned to her, that kind of an environment. All right. So right now, things are stressful. They are very fluid. She does not have a sense of being grounded. Emotions are running really, really, really high. Everything hinges on him getting what he wants. And in part, what he wants is to hold on to the presidency. But it's more. It's about money. It's about security. It is about putting himself in the place where he wants to be going forward. It is about how he is perceived. It's about his reputation. And she stands by and she watches. There's a circle of 3 females, including her. I don't know who they are. I don't know if it is a mother, a sister, really close friends. I'm not sure, but there are 3 of them. Melania and 2 other women that basically they surround Melania and they keep her strong and as balanced as they can. And they're watching what is going on and they just shake their heads because literally with everything he does, he pushes the promise, the wish, and the White House farther and farther away because he is busy thinking only of himself, protecting only himself. And when I say himself, that absolutely includes business interests. And, she watches kind of with a broken heart as he is self-destructing. She is aware that he is self-destructing. She is aware that there are secrets that are going to come out that are just going to absolutely walk him straight to the destruction, not only of Trump and the presidency, but the destruction of the Trump brand, the Trump image. They're very, it's a kind of a funny thing because Trump's base, the only people that continue to believe the illusion, and that's exactly what it is. They saw Trump as a reality star. And so now they think they have, a rock star in the White House. Well, they don't. They have a fool. But it's kind of ironic that the very people who believe in him and vote for him can't afford to stay in his hotels. They can't afford to buy the Ivanka or the Trump merchandise. So it's weird because the people that he really needs to keep that promise are not the people who are going to be able to help him long term. And if he thinks for 1 second that when he's out of office that the Saudis are going to rent, 500 rooms for 3 nights and never show up, he is ridiculously mistaken. The downfall is coming for him. She avoids whenever she can the squabbling. There's a lot of friction going on now behind the scenes between the kids and her, the family members. The kids are all conditioned to not argue with their father, to not talk back. And so they're not doing that. If there's somebody thinking that there's an adult in the room at, the dinner table when the family is together, you would be wrong. There's squabbling and scraping that goes on. There's backstabbing that goes on between those siblings. Melania watches it whenever possible. She tries to keep herself and Baron out of the fray. Her priority, her big thing is she's a mom, right? I mean, that's where her priority is. And honestly, it feels very much like that was part of the negotiation. It was like, okay, well, if I'm going to marry you, old man, you better provide me with a child one way or another, because that is my goal. That is what I want. And of course, she's not stupid. Having that, she understands that she's in a slightly more secure position. Although, frankly, having a child with Trump did not really do Marla Maples any favors. But, that's another story. So her motivation is to protect. It is protect herself, her son, her family, whatever it takes. She needs to protect them from him. And that's what she does to the best of her ability. He has threatened to take away everything. She's terrified of literally leaving penniless and with the clothes on her back. And so for now, he continues to be able to sort of manipulate what goes on there. I mean, she has a legitimate fear. How did that fear get planted in her head if it wasn't put there by somebody? Okay. She is in a really, really turbulent time. And honestly, she does not see her way clear to get out of where she is. She feels as if she has no choice but to continue on the path that she is on, whether, it's good for her or helpful for her or not. Okay. Now, I have tried really hard in this reading to sort of maintain a balance. And part of the reason for that is that whatever went on between her and Trump in their marriage before she became First Lady is sort of not my concern. And really, it shouldn't be anybody's concern. What goes on now that she has assumed the title and the position of First Lady, she sort of has now become public property, whether she wants to be or not. And so for the behaviors that we see in public, as in her role of First Lady, as far as I'm concerned, she is leaving herself open to whatever criticisms come. And the reason I say Christmas, because as I was saying that, I was seeing that horrendous tree thing last Christmas with all of those blood red trees. She can get criticized for stuff like that, man. No question about it. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, this is the last thing I kind of want to say. And this is a really clear impression that I got. So by now, all of us are well aware of that picture that Trump released of him and Nancy Pelosi in that meeting where she was standing up and shaking her finger at him. And everybody's like, what was he thinking releasing that publicly? He looks like an idiot. And if you zoom in on his face, not only does he look like an idiot, but he looks like a kind of a really confused one who just doesn't quite understand what's going on around him. Let me explain. Trump comes from a time, and you know what, I should stop blaming everything on the time Trump comes from, because there's lots of people who came from that time who were not raving loons. Okay, so in his head, he believes that when a woman steps out of her sort of boundary and she gets upset, or she yells, or she gets overly emotional, or etc., he views that as a female being unhinged, of being erratic, of not being able to talk to her. She makes no sense. So for a second, just think about what that must mean within a marriage. It means that at your most vulnerable, when you are the most emotional, she has a husband who dismisses her thoughts and her feelings because he just simply brushes them off as you're being crazy. Go settle down somewhere and come back and talk to me when you're ready to behave like a lady. So in Trump's head, when he released that fateful picture of Nancy Pelosi giving him what for, he believed it was going to make her look bad. Well, surprise, 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 it just made him look like a fool. But again, it was a very interesting insight into the workings of his brain. Okay. So thank you once again so much for joining me. Your comments are so sweet. I'm so grateful for them. Thank you so much for the likes and the subscribes. The comments are brilliant. If you're looking for a personal reading, information in the box below. The donations have been lovely and heartwarming. I thank you all for your support, and I just need about 200 more subscribers, a bit more than 200, and I'm going to hit my 5,000 mark. So I hope you continue to join me in that journey. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.